Welcome to the Six-Figure Software Developer Masterclass. I'm Dr. Emily, and I'm super, super excited to talk to you tonight about how to get an amazing tech career in 2025. So I'm just curious, who's with me? Who is looking to get a new role in tech in 2025? Diane is, I see that. Greg is, I love it. We are live. So good, folks. So, so good. Now, I want you guys to get the most out of tonight, all right? Out of our time together. I'm going to try and keep it really focused and keep it on time. And you guys can see me, right? Just out of curiosity. You guys can totally see me? Okay, perfect. All right, excellent. Awesome sauce. Wonderful, folks. Welcome to see you. Great to see you, Cheryl, Bill. Awesome. Daryl, Randy, so good. So our goal together tonight is to help you move forward on the path to getting that new tech career that you're looking for, right? And I'm all about results. And so if you're committed to getting that six-figure tech role in 2025, I want to help you, right? And so to that end, if you can turn off distractions, if you're able, right? I know we have a lot on our plates now. There's a lot of moving parts. Many of you may be, caring for family members or, and have other commitments with work. But I'm asking you to turn off distractions so you can focus, use this time to focus on you and moving yourself forward on that pathway to get that six-figure tech role, right? Because, you get water, get a pen and paper, whatever you need to really focus this time on you, right? Because I've helped so many students be successful in getting tech job offers in the past year. And to be honest, in the last 3 months alone, our student job offers have been averaging 130K. That's the average, right? The range in the last year was from 80, I think 70K to 170K, like literally 100K range difference for the students graduating from the academy, getting these amazing tech job offers. And supposedly last year was a tough market and we've had the most student offers ever. So what are we doing differently, right? What actions and steps are we doing that are different that's helping our students move forward? And that's what I want to share with you tonight, right? So I want to make sure that you have this information so that you can be successful too, okay? Now, to help you get the most out of today, it would be super helpful for me to know where you're at so I can make sure to cover that. So if you guys can just take a moment and let me know what what experience you have coding, and I'll make sure to tailor my, information tonight to you to make sure you can get the most out of it. Okay, awesome. So we've definitely got quite a few people that have never coded before. It's totally cool. Awesome. I'll make sure to include that in there. We've got some folks that have also worked as developers before, right? So we've got all comers, which is awesome. So don't worry, I'm going to serve both. And I'll just kind of let you guys know if I'm talking about something that's for the advanced crowd or for the beginners. All right. Super awesome. Thank you so much, folks. This is great. Awesome sauce. Wonderful. All right. Sweet. So tonight, what we're talking about is what it really takes to become a six-figure software developer in 2025, right? We're going to talk about a proven roadmap to a rewarding tech career. Specifically, what are employers looking for in 2025, right? To get your next tech job offer in as little as 6 weeks. Now, 6 weeks is going to apply for those that have prior experience already, right? If you don't have prior experience, it's probably going to take longer than 6 weeks, just full disclosure. Okay, this is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, excellent. And so if anyone else is curious who's in the room tonight, these are the folks that are in the room tonight. Super good, super good. Okay, excellent. We're also going to talk about how to get unstuck. Like if you're in tech and you're stuck making 50K a year or anything less than 6 figures, basically, we are going to look into how you can get those 6-figure coding skills within the next 6 months. We're also going to talk about what a rock star resume looks like and how you can make yours look awesome and become a top interview candidate. So you can go into job interviews as the A player instead of somebody who's trying to claw their way in the door. All right, folks? Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. So if you're excited, I'm excited. Let's do this. We are going to start off tonight, though, by taking a look at you, right? Tonight's talk is all about you and helping you move forward. So first we have to know where we're going, right? You can't get to a destination if you don't know which way you're going, right? You need that pathway. So I'd love for everyone to share, what are you looking for in 2025, right? Just take a moment, take a breath, get centered, and really feel what it would feel like to have your goal. And if you can share it in the chat, I'd really appreciate it. Like, let's get clear on why we're here together tonight. So, why do you want a six-figure tech job in 2025? There's no wrong answers, right? But what will that do for you, right? Like, let's get to the why, and I'll explain in a minute why this is so important. Awesome. Diane wants freedom. I love it, Diane. Super, super all about freedom. What are some other reasons that people are, focused on getting this new tech role in 2025? I love that. Thank you, Diane, so much for sharing. So Beer Glass, which I love that Zoom name, by the way. If it is also your real name, that's like even better. Um, Beer Glass is in Q&A and data analytics classes now and wants more coding. So it's a combination effort. Am I diluting my effort? Ooh, such a good question. Such a good question. That's always a risk when we're focusing on a couple different ones. So what I'd love to do is answer that towards the end a little bit more. That's a great question. We can keep that. Looking for additional skills for passive income, Brian. Awesome. So Brian, you may want to consider, freelance web development, which we have a new program on. So, so good. Anne is looking for career change and Diane's looking to be debt free. That's amazing. Edward can't do a one-word answer. That's all good. Financial peace, freedom, and security, peace of mind, and living your life on your terms. I love it, Edward. So, so good. Replacing a survivor income. Yes, Mary. So, so good. Want to learn different tech to be able to work and live freely. I love it, Cheryl. A lot of freedom, a lot of career change, Phil. Thank you. David is looking to get out of that 50K. Like you get stuck there in tech sometimes. I feel you. I get it. Randy is really looking to, get benefits. That's awesome. Financial freedom, Judy. So, so good. So, so good. Freedom to be debt free. I love it. Learning something new and different. That's awesome, Cheryl. Thank you so, so much. And Bill, Creative Outlet. I love these answers. Thank you so much for sharing where you are, right? We're really here about freedom, right? Or maybe you're in a hard job in the trades like Austin is, right? And saving your physical body for something more, right? Like I've definitely had questions about that, right? And I've had people coming in for that very reason. So regardless of what you're looking for freedom for, right? Like maybe you want to spend more time with family. Maybe you want to just be able to like buy cool stuff sometimes, like, right? Like be stupid with your money every once in a while, right? Like have enough money to meet your needs at the standard of living you want to live at. And maybe also like buy some stupid fun things sometimes. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And this kind of career can open those doors for you, right? So and again, I will stay until all the questions are answered. So I may not be able to answer in the moment because I want to make sure we keep on time for everybody, be respectful of everyone's time. So if there's a question that I can't get to in the moment, please ask it at the end. I will answer every question in the chat that comes up at the end. All right. So you're looking for this freedom, you're looking for fun, right? You're looking to become debt free and really set yourself up for financial success. That's amazing. That's so good that you know that. And it might seem weird to start here, but at the end of the day, becoming a six-figure software developer is going to take time and dedication, right? You are going to have to transform who you are from wherever you are right now to that professional six-figure software developer that's out there. And so sometimes it can be challenging to do hard things, right? That even when we know they're going to make their lives better. The road I'm going to share with you tonight is very simple, but it's not necessarily easy, right? Think of how often humans have trouble doing what's good for us, like eating vegetables or exercising, right? What helps carry us through is what we just talked about right now, that why. And I would urge you, right? Like we just did a superficial why, like your first beginning why, but peeling back the layers, why do I want that freedom? Why do I want that financial stability? Like, right? Like what is the feeling behind that will help you get even closer to your true why, so that will help carry you through when things get hard, right? So like, for instance, as an example, a side hustle, if your why is not juicy enough, a side hustle is something you're doing extra, right? You might have a day job, you might have a family. And so one night you get home from work, you don't feel like showing up for studying, right? You're basically saying my dream is not as important as my rest. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you do that every single night, you're not getting where you're trying to go, right? And so you want to make sure that you are rock solid into whatever is motivating you so that that'll carry you through all the way. So now that we've dived into why, right? That financial freedom, being debt free, what's standing in your way? right? Let's get clear on what is actually stopping you from moving forward, right? And I would love to hear it in the chat again, right? Because I want to help you get clear on that tonight so that I can help you find a way out of that, like right now, because I'm available to you live. I have 3 computer science degrees. I've helped dozens and dozens of students get, their next tech job. And I have all this data from 2024 and I want to share it with you, right? So if you are feeling there's a barrier, let's have it in the chat. Let's have it in the chat. Awesome. Living a healthier life. Awesome, Diane. That's so, so good. Yeah, awesome. So investment. Awesome. So having the ability to invest in ourselves to move forward. Absolutely. That can be a barrier. Although it doesn't have to be a barrier for long, right? Like it can be a short-term barrier because there are ways that you can turn these skills into compensation for yourself very, very quickly. And in fact, I know someone had asked about our freelance program, and we do have a new freelance Fridays that we're running to help students get started earning while they're learning, because you can put these skills to work even in just the first couple weeks, and then the training can pay for itself very, very quickly. You do have to be willing to go out and drum up business for yourself, right? Freelancing, it has that piece, although we will train you on best practices on how to do that as well. So Rick is looking to live a better life and be able to travel. It's so, so good. Yep. Awesome. So any other barriers besides, sounds like financial barriers are king here, but if you have any other barriers, let me know. I'm happy to help you move forward. Okay. I'm happy to help you move forward. Where there's a will, there's a way, is what I have learned. There's not usually, usually there's a way around. Any time and money concerns, usually we can find a way. Ooh, Mary has a good one. Afraid of failing. That is so good, Mary. Thank you so much for your honesty and being willing to share that. And it's something that hits all of us, right? It might be called by other names, imposter syndrome, performance anxiety, right? They're all there. There's definitely times in my life where I haven't moved forward on taking action because I was afraid of failing, right? So we have to balance that. Like when you do a new thing, you're probably going to kind of suck at it until you get awesome, right? Like that there's not really two ways about it, right? Think about when we started walking, right? We fell down a lot. And at the time we didn't really care because we didn't care what people thought of us yet, right? But now we're adults and it's not necessarily as much fun to fail. So that's why when I'm learning to code and helping others learn to code, I think it's really important to have a community around you so that to help build you up, to help see other people's success, to inspire you to pursue your own, and also to make sure that you're honoring and celebrating the small wins that you may not always recognize, right? Because, at the fact that it matter is if you're going to do something new, you might fail at it. You might stub your toe. You might hit your head against the wall. But if you have that support network, if you have people you can go to who don't judge you, who support you and can answer your questions, you can move forward through that, right? Or if you have a community that's there to like support you and celebrate your wins, so you can build yourself up and be like, okay, I didn't get this problem, but you know what? I got those 5 other ones, right? I am moving forward. I'm making progress. Awesome sauce, right? Learning and understanding. So, so good. Learning style or speed. Awesome, Brian. Not being able to keep up with technology. Ooh, Mary, not being able to keep up with technology. I'm going to talk about that, right? Because the fact of the matter is none of us can really keep up with technology, but we don't have to. You don't have to keep up with all of it. You only have to keep up with some of it. So we'll dive into that as well today. Awesome sauce, folks. So some of the frustrations that I hear from people who are like actively on the job hunt is they're frustrated they can't get an interview, right? They need experience, but they can't get experience because you haven't had a job yet, right? So how do you get experience? And yet all the jobs require it, right? I've also heard that people can't learn enough languages or frameworks, right? So they like, Mary was pointing to this, like, oh my goodness, can't keep up. There's so many new things to learn all the time, right? Awesome. 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 So one of the other ones that I hear is anyone concerned that AI might just take away all the dev jobs and then if this is not a worthwhile career, right? Yep, Diane too. No, good beer glass. You're smart. That's awesome. I want to explain that though to make sure that everybody is here. Awesome, Edward. Edward's thinking it. I know. I finally think I figured out that everyone is, or at least many people are thinking it, but like no one's saying it because we want to be software developers. We want to believe in this dream, but like, oh my God, AI. So let me explain to you, because for me, it is so obviously not a threat. And every senior professional software developer I talk to is like, yeah, no, right? Anyone, let me be clear, right? There are CEOs of major companies, major tech companies, are like, oh, AI is replacing all the developers. Yes and no. Any actual developers you talk to, they're not getting replaced by AI, but it is having an effect on the industry. So let me just share with you that perspective so you can make your own informed decision, right? Awesome. So because AI is transforming our world, right? It's so disruptive. Okay. So we're in the age of AI. Question is, what impact is it going to have on tech careers, right? It is going to replace some. And we've been seeing it with like layoffs and turnover and the news and all sorts of things. So let me share something with you. Okay. So AI is really, really good at some things. AI is really, really good at some things. Do you guys see this? Do you guys see this a little bit? Yeah. So this is AI too, right? This is AI too. So is this. This is AI. So, yes, AI does brilliant things. It is disrupting every industry. And there's definitely people whose jobs are on the line and are being replaced by AI, right? For instance, I might have once hired a copywriter and now I'm going to chat GPT it. Or I might have, hired an artist to do, or a photographer, and now I might be going to chat GPT. But here's the thing, it's not fully autonomous, right? Like AI can be really good sometimes. When it's not good at building connections. And if you see on the right, these human poses of like two humans with extra limbs, right? Like AI doesn't always connect things correctly, right? Here's the thing, is that AI is really good at building like new software from scratch. But unfortunately, that represents like 20% of a software developer's job. 80% of software development is taking new code and fitting it in to the older code that already exists, building those connections, which AI is not very good at, right? So most of software development is connecting new code to what's already in production, what's already out in the world live, right? Like software developers that are paid six figures are not paid six figures to create new software from scratch typically. They're paid to maintain software that's already out there. And that's the part that AI has the biggest trouble with. So the software developer is absolutely still essential. And I will explain in a few minutes, if you bear with me, what other skills are so critical that the human still has to provide. Is AI changing the landscape for developers? Heck yes. But it's not replacing them, right? Like it's evolving them, right? So what does this mean for your dream of becoming a software developer, right? Like where is the human still required? Because we know that ChatGPT and AI can actually create cool images, but it also gives us some garbage sometimes, right? Yeah, QA engineers, exactly. Exactly. So what's happening is that AI is raising the bar. Basically, what's going on is AI is cutting off anyone that's mediocre and below. So if you're a mediocre photographer, guess what? You're replaced by AI. If you're a mediocre copywriter, you're replaced by AI. I actually did recently hire a copywriter, and like he blows AI out of the water. Like he is worth every penny, right? Like the people that are good and know what they're doing completely bury AI, right? Like AI is really good if you just need good enough. Awesome. Use AI. But sometimes AI doesn't work, right? And somebody has to tell it what to do. So what it's doing is it's raising the bar on the entry level, right? So it's harder you have to know more. It's not necessarily harder, but you have to know more, right? 5 years ago, you could get a tech job knowing almost nothing, right? Because they were just so in demand. Now you really have to actually know what you're doing. And I'll explain to you how you can learn that before you have a job. But like that's the issue, is that AI has just raised the bar. It has not replaced, but you actually have to know what you're doing now, right? So now it's kind of exposing some gaps in our training. All right. Yeah. And you have to know how to prompt it. Exactly. So there's not enough. It's not enough to be able to Google Stack Overflow anymore. That used to be what many software developers would do. And in fact, if that is all people knew how to do, I'm pretty sure those are the folks that got laid off because they weren't adding value to their companies. It's not enough to just be able to build a simple CRUD app. You have to actually know how to do things into production. So AI is replacing mediocre across all disciplines. And AI is evolving the role of the developer, right? So every developer now has a small army of AI coding bots. I mean, it's just one, but you can imagine like every developer now is almost like a little bit of a mini project manager. They can tell AI, hey, build me some code that does XYZ. But, as Beer Glass pointed out, we have to actually know, right, like what we're asking for, right? A human is still required. Two things: telling the AI what to do, right? Writing the prompt, understanding the terminology enough to actually be able to prompt, and then recognizing that it worked. I want to dive into this, folks, because this is non-trivial. I know people get scared about AI. No senior devs that I talk to are at all afraid of being replaced because they actually understand what goes into building software, right? The only people I know that are scared of AI in software development don't actually know how to build software yet. And so it's easy to see because like in photography and writing a grade school report, like there's so many things that ChatGPT just replaced people. This is not one of them. All right, so let's look at how do you AI proof your tech career, right? Like what is it where the human is required? You have to learn how to tell AI what to do. This is like Google searches, but on steroids, right? And to be honest, the hardest part of building great software is defining what it does. Like, so I also we have a software company, and I also work with tech founders. These are people that have an idea for an app and they want to see it built, but it's not a big enough idea for VC funding, right? It's their pet project. And it typically takes me working with a client like 3 months just to define what's buildable, like something that I can actually hand to developers or AI. It doesn't matter, right? Like the end user is not going to be saying, hey, ChatGPT, spit me out a new app. Yeah, no, not happening anytime soon, because the hard part of that process is them knowing how to define it, how to clearly articulate, this is what I want. A software developer can listen to those problems and go back and forth and actually create a prompt that will generate something useful. But an end user with no concept of software development, yeah, no, not going to happen. And then we actually need to create software that scales. This is the next hardest problem. Because a big issue with prompting properly is how to anticipate change, right? How is this going to scale and grow? Are we going to get a lot of users? Are we going to get a small number of users and they're going to use this a bunch, right? Like there's so many, it requires so much context and detail for the AI. It really needs to come from the software developer and they can just say what needs to happen. Like if you were really going to give AI everything it needed, it would be pages and pages and pages. At that point, you might as well just be writing the code yourself. Excuse me. So prompting itself, right, is a huge piece where the human is absolutely required. And this is a technical human who knows how to build software. It has to be, right? Awesome sauce. And then, so that's part one. There has to be a prompt, right? Then we have to recognize that it worked. Yeah, we have to recognize that it worked. Okay, think about that for a second. We just looked at those photos a few slides back, right? Okay, we can instantly see that they didn't work. Do you think, for those of you that have coded at all, do you think you could just look at code and know if it worked? Can we just look at code and know that it works? No, we have to actually be able to run it. And so maybe you don't need to know everything about software development, but you have to know enough to get it running. And then worse yet, what if it only kind of works? Are you going to keep working with it? Are you going to fix it? Are you going to write a new prompt, right? Like now you actually have to know what you're doing, which means The only way for software developers to use AI effectively is to actually know how to do it themselves, right? Like if you don't know enough to write it yourself, you will not know enough to be able to use the AI properly, right? So like the skill, excuse me, those skills are still in demand, but it's just changing the game. It's changing the day-to-day activities of the software developer, right? Yep, you got to fix it, Antoinette. That's exactly right. And yes, Brian, got to understand the syntax. Okay, super awesome. So what are these critical skills for developers in the age of AI? Like, so you can take this to the bank and actually get a job and have confidence that you're going to have a career and not something that's going to be replaced by AI in the next 2 seconds, right? Like all the skills that I'm talking about with you tonight are all career making skills, like 5, 10, 20 years, if you want them, if you want them. So basically this is about how to actually know what you're doing and not be mediocre, right? You need to be able to read and recognize when a solution actually meets your need. This is non-trivial, right? This is one of the hardest things to do in software. You need to be able to debug. So you have to know enough to debug something. You have to be able to integrate it. So you have to have some sense of where code is supposed to go in an application, because if you're working on a live system, AI is going to give you a snippet of code and you need to know where to put it, to glue it together, how to connect it, right? Even if AI tells you that, someone has to physically do it and be held responsible if it doesn't, right? So like that responsibility piece is why software developers aren't going anywhere. They may not see the growth within a single company, right? Like one company might be able to use less software developers, but they're not being replaced. They're going to have them. But the number of companies spinning up that do want software developers is growing. So on the whole, right, it's still a really good time to get into tech. There's over 200,000 jobs in tech right now, right? So like this is absolutely a viable path. And the last thing is you need to know how to build and prompt for scalability, right? By anticipating future change. And this is something uniquely human. AI cannot figure out where this app is going to go. We have to tell it. And so that's a really important thing. This is how we make software. The difference between software that costs 10 grand a year to maintain or 300 grand, right, is how scalable it is and how we anticipated that future change successfully. Awesome sauce, folks. Ralph has a question. Will AI-based compilers automatically fix semantics errors of source code? Yes. So that is a really interesting question. So semantics errors is when the code doesn't do what you intend. To be able to do that, right, the human has to be able to specify and express what the goal is, and then AI would have to do the difference. It is possible, right? But in general, it can't do it without the human specifying what it's looking for. And that's the hardest part, right? Like you can't, a computer program can't know what its outcome is. Like this is a principle of computer science that a computer program can never know if it's going to stop or if it's going to do XYZ. And so with AI, it can answer these questions, but the human has to tell it what semantics it's looking for. And at that point, can you specify it clearly enough that the AI can understand it? Because keep in mind, AI will tell you things with high confidence that are absolutely incorrect, right? It will lie with impunity and you won't know it because that's the way AI works. And so that's why everything is a matter of checks and balances, and it's not just push button. And I don't think it's going to get push button because there are limitations on what AI is capable of. Awesome. Excellent. Yep. Awesome sauce, folks. Great questions, great anticipation. So just out of curiosity, who would like to know how to land an AI-proof tech job in the next few months in 2025? Who's into that? Who would like to know that? Because that's what we're talking about tonight. Awesome. David raised his hand. Sweet. Daryl's into it. Awesome. Mary's into it. Miss Platinum, Antoinette, that's awesome. Before we dive into that, is it cool with you guys if I share just a little bit about my background for a hot second? I know some of you might have heard it before. Awesome sauce, folks. So I'll briefly talk about that just so you know where I'm coming from, like where is all this information coming from? And then we're going to dive into that. All right, folks? Super awesome. Loving it. So who am I? If we haven't met before, hi, I'm Dr. Emily Hill. I have 3 degrees in computer science, bachelor's, master's, and PhD. And I'm the former program director of computer science at my university, which means they put me in charge of the curriculum. So whatever the students at that university were learning in computer science, I got to design it, right? And my formal PhD concentration is in software engineering, specifically how to help someone become an expert software developer as quickly as possible. So basically, for the last 20 years, I've been studying how to become a 6-figure software developer as quickly as possible. I have over 20 years teaching experience at Drew and Montclair State, as well as University of Delaware. And I have over 50 internationally peer-reviewed publications. So I was an academic in the fullest sense. Outside of computer science, I love family, freedom, and music. So a lot of things that you guys mentioned, which is awesome. I do have a side hustle as a professional musician. I just do, local church services. They call me in as like the ringer to do the high stuff. So I am formally trained in that as well. So pretty awesome. Now, this looks like super cool on paper, but can I level with you guys for a second? Like, is that cool? Like, let me get real. So look, oh, so fancy pants, 3 computer science degrees. Like, man, it must have been so easy for her to learn how to code, right? Yeah, no. How come I got 3 freaking computer science degrees? Because none of them taught me how to do it. And I spent 10 years and almost $250,000, $244,000 getting those 3 computer science degrees, hoping every time with each one that someone would freaking teach me how to code. Yeah, well, newsflash, it didn't happen. And in the end, I created my own system of learning how to code. And the cool thing is that it actually works with AI. So all this new AI stuff that's coming out, yeah, it just enhanced the way I teach people to develop software quickly. So pretty awesome. So now it's even faster. But yeah, so I got 3 computer science degrees and it looks all fancy pants on paper, but I got them because I wasn't getting what I was looking for from the training programs I kept enrolling in, spending, tens of thousands of dollars and a decade of my life going and getting all these degrees, right? So super, super frustrating. Now, I'd like to save you from that, right? I'd really like to save you from that. And so I'd like to share with you tonight what exactly you need to do to become a 6-figure coder in tech, right? And we're going to show you tonight. We're going to show you tonight. So I think the myth that I was operating under was that training alone would be enough. And I went to 3 computer science degrees, right? I got all the degrees trying to learn it. And that was a long time ago. What about all these boot camps that have come out? Are they better? Unfortunately, at least from the students that have come to me, not necessarily. So I had a student, Jessie, who went to 2 other boot camps before coming to me, never learned to think like a coder. She did manage to get a tech job after the second one, but she was laid off only 9 months later. Right? Imagine getting a taste of that salary, that 70K salary that you're looking for, of feeling like you'd finally arrived, only to be laid off less than a year later, right? But here's the silver lining. Here's the good news. She followed the 3-step system that I'm going to share with you right now tonight, and she got 2 job offers the same week and accepted one for 86K, right? So unfortunately, there's many others that have gone through the same experience that I did, that we invest in training, we expect to learn, only we're not necessarily being taught the skills we actually need. So what we're going to talk about tonight is, what do those skills actually look like, right? So how do we become a 6-figure software developer in 2025? Now, we have a wide variety of experience in the room. And this pathway, the timing of this pathway will look different if you're a beginner versus if you have some kind of tech experience. Okay, so I'm going to try and talk to both of these groups of people tonight, so you know who you are. Here are the key steps. No matter what, you have to learn to think like a coder. And what that looks like is having a process to solve any tech problem. This goes back, Mary was bringing this up earlier tonight, that, oh, there's so much tech to learn. How do you keep up with it all, right? But when you learn to think like a coder, you don't need to keep up with it. Let me show you something. All right, folks, let me show you. Like, how do you know? Has anyone ever wondered, how do you know when you have enough skills to get a tech job, right? Has anyone ever wondered that? Like, is it time to go on the job market? Do I know enough yet? right? Randy's saying he's had that experience. Has anyone else had that experience? Yeah, Isaac, David, Randy. Awesome, right? So if you've ever wondered, this is how you can know, right? This is how you can know. Okay, which skills to learn? All right, guys, I'm going to show you something, right, to help you think differently. So if this makes you feel frustrated or uncomfortable, that's good because it means we can release a belief that doesn't serve you. So if you've ever found yourself not knowing what to learn, how many skills to learn when you're done, take a look at this picture for a second. This represents all of the tech that a job description could ask of you right now in this moment. Anything a potential job in tech might ask of you. How does this make people feel? What do you guys feel when you look at this picture right now? Overwhelmed, Mary. Yes, that is the answer I'm looking for. Yes, Antoinette. Yeah, scared, overwhelmed, for sure. This is the only reason you feel that way is because you don't yet know how to think like a coder. Because professionals look at this picture and they get excited about all the things that they could learn, right? So there is another way to view this picture. Here's the deal, right? How long might it take to learn all of these technologies? I don't know, 10 years maybe? 5 years? Right? Do you think there's more technologies that they're going to come out between now and then? Yeah. So this is going to like keep expanding, right? And exploding. Yeah. Ugh. So like, how does anyone survive in tech, right? Well, okay, they learn to think like a coder, right? Because here's the thing. You're never going to be asked to do all of these things at the same time, right? You need to know a couple of them to get your foot in the door and get a job. But your boss isn't going to come to you and say, hey, learn 20 of these by next week. Your job is going to say, oh, we are using, right, like Asana to do task management. Can you set up this little automation for me for next week? So now you're going to do an hour, right? Or like half a day at most in this new technology. And the thing is, when you learn to think like a coder, you can pick up a new language or framework enough to use it in a weekend, right? Like imagine not having to be scared looking at this picture, not having to be overwhelmed, just excited at the possibilities of all the things you could be learning, right? But that's the thing is knowing how to think like a coder is what's going to get you there. It's going to get you past that fear so you get to the exciting part where you're like, oh, I can learn this thing. Because you don't have to master the thing. You have to know enough to solve your problem. And so that's where this becomes manageable. But it does require that you know how to think like a coder, that you have that system in place for yourself where you can solve anything, right? Like I can't stress to you enough, the power that comes with that, right? Like because I flipped this switch to think like a coder, right? Like I was struggling, everything was confusing, nothing made sense. And then in a moment, I flipped the switch and all of a sudden I had confidence and it made sense. And I have helped people debug when they bring me problems in languages I have never seen ever, right? Like things I've never coded in before. They're like, oh, I have this problem, doctor. I'm like, great, bring it. And I help them, right? Because my process is what's important. It's not the particular technology. That's the power of thinking like a coder, of not being afraid of new technology, of not being afraid of these changes because you know you have this process you can rely on to learn it, right? So it's really having that process within yourself, right? And to be honest, this is my hypothesis of why there's been so many layoffs in tech is that the people getting laid off don't actually have this skill. They don't have the ability to think like a coder. And so who's first on the chopping block? The people that can't adapt quickly, right? Because it's also the case that many training programs just teach you to follow the leader, just follow what someone is doing in front of you, follow the tutorial, the code along videos, and then they don't actually know how to do it for themselves, right? And so learning to think like a coder gives you that power to solve whatever you put your mind to. And I believe this is also the reason why some tech workers get stuck in a 50K job for years or worse, laid off, while others can earn 100K or more in their first year of coding. And I have seen these skills nail someone on the interview. Like they were the top pick for a job out of 15. I'll explain that story in just a little bit. So, do you guys see why it's so important to learn to think like a coder? Because technology is just going to grow and expand, right? Like, and so if you've ever been frustrated before, right? Like, this is why a certificate or a degree may not matter, because if you haven't learned to think like a coder, you're constantly looking over your shoulder. What's the next technology coming down the pike? How am I going to learn it, right? It constantly feels like work, when really it's just like, oh, cool. What's this new sandbox I get to go play in this weekend? Sweet, right? Like, if you know you can learn whatever and you have confidence in yourself to do that, you're not intimidated and scared anymore, right? No, you're not intimidated or scared. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Loving it. All right, cool. So that's why it's so important to learn to think like a coder, right? So you're not afraid of all the tech changes, because tech is going to change, right? Like, if you're the type of person that wants to learn one thing and never do anything different, then those are the jobs that are getting replaced by AI, right? Like, but they still are out there. You could go do them, right? Like, these are the lower level jobs, like, like just doing repetitive tasks, right? If that's all you want to do, like, usually it's something with your hands, right? Same day in, day out. Awesome. Tech is not for you. Tech is for people that enjoy learning or that are open to learning, right? Because tech is always going to be changing, but you don't have to be intimidated by it, right? Like, we can give you tools and skills to be able to thrive, right? Austin, someone taught me early on when I was learning to troubleshoot in the trade, you'll never learn every unit. Exactly. You'll learn that every unit has its like most important big pieces. All you have to know is how to find them, and then they'll show you the problem. Exactly. Exactly. Awesome. So good. Ralph, that's an awesome question. Folks, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you've got a question that's not quite on topic, if you can drop it there so I remember to answer it at the end, I would love to do that. Awesome sauce, folks. Awesome sauce. So, in addition to thinking like a coder, there is one other super key thing, and that's having recent experience deploying to production. This is absolutely required by employers now. This is the key, right? Every job ad out there wants experience, but it doesn't necessarily require like paid professional salaried experience. They just want to make sure you actually know how to work with a modern software system. And unfortunately, this is almost impossible to simulate learning on your own or in a classroom setting. Let me just take a moment to show you what this looks like so you can see for yourself, right? So experience, what does experience look like? It's not a personal portfolio project that you did last weekend, right? It's not deploying live code more than 6 months ago. It's not building a local website for a business, right? For a local business. Employers want to see current production experience, right? And in fact, what I hear back from students who are going on tech interviews is that this question is actually asked on the tech interview. Hey, when was the last time you pushed to production? Right? Like, they're really looking for that experience. What does that look like? So for those of you that are beginners, you may not have seen this before, right? So if you've seen this before, you might have experience deploying in production. If you've never seen this before, you probably haven't, okay? So just real quickly, what does real world development experience look like? It would be working on a team. This is a project management board, right, where we manage tickets for one of our software projects. And then, okay, you might have a task called a ticket that you're working on, and it has a description. It has people that are working on it. It looks like typing on the command line to commit your code to the repository for everybody else on your team to see it and look at it. So using Git on the command line. It looks like creating a pull request to, get your code reviewed before it's pulled in to the deployed code base for everybody. This is an example of showing a change that someone might have made. The pink lines are removed and the green ones are added, right? So like all of these things, if you've never seen anything like this, then this is the experience that you want to make sure you have before you apply for coding jobs. And if you've been applying for coding jobs and you haven't seen this stuff before, stop. It's going to be a waste of your time. You're probably not going to get that job unless you have a killer connection, like your brother works for the company and is hiring you, kind of thing, right? Like, you have to have this experience for software developer jobs. For other types of tech jobs, like In other disciplines, you don't necessarily have to have this, but you do need it if you want to be a six-figure software developer. Like all the students that got six-figure software developer jobs worked on the internship, right? They had this kind of hands-on experience. So that's key, right? Because the last thing you want to have happen is like after submitting hundreds of resumes and they ask you, hey, when was the last time you deployed to production? And you say, never, right? They're like, see you later. But more likely, you're not even going to get the interview, right? And I've seen it time and time again, students coming to us from other training programs or like, they've been on the job hunt for a while and they're just so frustrated because they haven't been getting any interviews. They don't know what's going on. And then they get this experience on their resume and boom, it's a game changer overnight. They're getting recruiters calling them, they're getting interviews. They may or may not get offers yet, but they're seeing progress. They're seeing forward movement. Awesome sauce, folks. How does coding operate? Yeah, we're going to, Ralph, I'd love to answer that question a little bit later. And finally, the last thing you need to become a six-figure software developer in 2025 is creating a rockstar resume. What does this look like, right? We want you to be the A player, right? You just don't want to get lost in the stack of resumes, right? It's not simply words on the page, right? So you have to have the experience, right? Like that goes without saying, but then you want to put it in the resume, right? So that you actually get callbacks, right? Not having the resume that really speaks to your skills is so frustrating because you're sending out hundreds and hundreds of resumes. You're like waiting by the phone, checking your email every day, waiting to respond back to recruiters and hiring managers and crickets, right? And you don't know why, right? And so first step is get that experience. Second step is make sure it's really showcased on your resume, that you're clearly communicating that you're an interview, that you're an A player and you're getting interviews. How do we do that, right? There is a strategy to this. So how can you be the top pick for the jobs that you apply for? Well, one way you can do that, and this is what I recommend, is by reverse engineering the ideal experience that you need for the types of jobs you want. So what I typically, ask students to do is to hand me a handful of job ads that they're like, I would love one of these jobs. These are like dream jobs. And then we look at the overlap and then we give them experience that actually meets that, right? So literally you can reverse engineer your resume and it's not fake because you're actually doing the work, right? I've also heard of people like copying other people's resumes and passing them off as their own. I'm sure that was a factor in some of these layoffs as well, right? Because then you don't actually know what you're doing. So like having the experience, it actually puts you at the top of the pile. So you want to kind of niche and be specific about the type of job you're looking for, but then you can literally custom design your resume so that you are the top pick. Of course you're going to be the top pick, right? You designed your learning and training experience to be number one on the top of the pile, right? So that's number one. Number two is using your experience to add verifiable details using the ABC or XYZ format. If you guys would like more information on that format, if you wait to the end, I'll give you an opportunity so I have a free PDF that you guys can take home with you that addresses that. And so we want to use those formats to showcase your rockstar skills. And finally, we're going to position your technical and non-technical experience for top visibility. So technical experience is usually fairly straightforward, but you really want to focus on what actions you took and what impact they had for the organization, right? It's less about what you know, and it's more about the outcome that you created with your skills, right? So it's not like, because anyone can say, I know JavaScript. Well, do you know JavaScript enough to create a calculator? Or do you know JavaScript enough to create Airbnb, right? Like those are two vastly different levels of knowledge. And so we want to make sure that we're positioning your skills and showcasing how they've impacted a company, right? And this is why that hands-on real-world experience is so important. They go hand in hand with your resume because we need to be able to showcase that. And even if you have non-technical experience, you can showcase it, right? It can be relevant, but you have to massage how it might be relevant to this role, right? Like how does it help you meet the needs of the role that you're applying for? All right. And so I've actually created an academy to help people do these three things. right? So to learn to think like a coder, have recent experience deploying to production required by employers, and creating a rock star resume. Are you guys cool? Would you guys like to know more about that? Would you like me to share that with you? It's totally up to you. Just let me know. And in the meantime, awesome. Randy's raised his hand. Awesome. Isaac is too. So good. Yes. Wonderful. Because I'm really excited, guys. We have a brand new program we're offering tonight that I've never offered live before. So I'm super excited. Okay, good. So Jay asked a question. Would personal projects count as real world experience? No, Jay. Not unless there is money changing hands, right? So you can do projects for nonprofits, right? You can volunteer your time, but it has to serve a business need. So if you're just doing a project for fun, it's probably not going to be relevant. If it's making money, maybe, right? Like, so it has to be a professional project, like having some kind of professional role in the world. The easiest way is to actually work for a client, right? Because then you can actually deliver for them because you're looking for the impact of your skills. The resume is all about the impact of your skills, not what you know. And this is where some of the disconnect is in a lot of training programs, especially at the university level. It's like, oh, check these boxes. Do you know these things? Pass this test. But what business owners care about is, can you deliver? Can you actually do what you're asked, right? And so it's very, very different. So the resume is all about, showcasing how the skills you have impacted the organizations you've worked for or the teams you've worked on, like how it's positively supported that. Super awesome, folks. All right, cool. Great questions. All right, so tonight I am super excited to share with you introducing the Tech Joy Career Academy, which is a space where you can learn six-figure coding skills on the path to a six-figure coding career. For those, I know there's some familiar names in here, right? This is really taking everything that we've been working on for the past 3 years and putting it together in a very, very new way to have what I'm terming education as a service. And so I'm super excited to share this with you guys. All right, super, super excited. So you may recognize similar elements if you've been in our world for a little while, but we put them together in a new way, which I'm super excited about. I think it's going to be a total game changer for you guys. So what does this process look like, right? We actually have two phases. We have phase one, which is the training phase, where you learn to think like a coder. You learn how to code. You learn how to pass the technical interview. You get some pre-internship training. So before you actually have real experience, you have to learn some things, right? So this is all the training phase. And here's the thing. Half of our students have gotten job offers in this phase. Half of them. And most of our over 100K job offers have actually been in this phase. Not all of them, but many of them. And so this phase alone can be a total game changer for your career. If you already are in tech, like I know some people have some tech experience already. If you've already worked in tech, you can potentially add 15 to 50K to your salary, like in a couple months. It's crazy pants. Let me share with you an example, if that's cool. So we had a student, Mike. He had been in IT and was applying to hundreds and hundreds of places for a few months, but he'd been having absolutely no luck. And it was so frustrating for him. So he joined the academy, right? He joined the academy. And after completing just the first month of training, he used his mastery of thinking like a coder on his interview. So get this. So Mike is on an interview. It's for an IT contract because he had experience in IT before, but he didn't have coding experience. And they asked him something. They asked him a question on the interview that he didn't know. Oh my goodness, right? Like everyone's worst nightmare. How do I answer a question on the interview that I don't know the answer to? So Mike kept his cool. He didn't panic. And he relied on our training of how to think like a coder, right? This is the whole point of thinking like a coder, is to help you and accomplish things when you don't know the answer. And so he relied on his training. He used how to think like a coder, called the 7 basics, and he was able to talk through how he would solve the problem. And the interviewer was so impressed. It was the owner of the company. They were so impressed by his coding ability to talk through it live on the interview, they hired him. They had interviewed 15 people for this role. He was the top pick. And it wasn't just a 100K contract. It was actually 114K. So he came in, he did the first month of training, he got a 114K job. He's still in it because he wants to continue. He wants to become that six-figure software developer. But now he's got a pretty cushy day job, so he can learn at his leisure, right? Like he can just learn as he goes, right? So super awesome, super awesome. Like learning to think like a coder is an absolute game changer. It's an absolute game changer. And so I just wanted to, share that with you, that if you do have prior experience in tech that's not coding, and you partner the coding skills of thinking like a coder with that, it is the fastest way to get over 100K, right? And so that's where I'm saying, if you've been stuck at 50K, this could be a pathway, right? This could absolutely be a pathway. And most of our students that are getting offers of over 100K, they're using our Think Like a Coder system. They're using our job hunt strategy system, right? The Rockstar resume. That's how they're getting these over 100K offers. When they, on their own, they've been laid off. They were applying for months and months and were just frustrated. And now they're getting offers, right? Now they're getting offers. Super awesome. I had another woman who got an offer of 160K, right? Like after, just the beginning phases of the program, first couple months. So super awesome. Super, super awesome. So that's phase one, the training phase, right? And I've put some months on here because that's what we see as typical when someone is working part-time, right? What I'm using to mark out these months is 2 hours a day or about 10 to 15 hours a week. If you have more time than that, you can go faster. If you have experience already, you can go faster, right? So I have seen someone blaze through the training phase in basically a weekend, right? Like if you actually know what you're doing, the stuff I ask of you in the training phase is very, very quick. If you're learning, expect it to take a while, right? It's going to take a bit because like the first time you learn something, right, it's more challenging. You have to build all these new pathways. Like you might get stuck and then have to go get support, and right, it just takes time. Once you've got the training piece, then phase two, this is the internship. This is that hands-on deployment experience. This is unlike any internship you'll see in the world. To be honest, I don't even know if I should be calling it an internship, but it's the closest thing we've got. When I was an intern when I was at school, and basically I got to eat lunch with the other interns, and that was about it. Because if you think about it, most companies aren't going to give interns real work because they're either not paid or paid very little. So our internship experiences are done in-house for our software clients. And so that's how we can guarantee that it's a really worthwhile training experience, because we actually give our interns real work and we support them, right, in that learning. So we have tons of support from senior software engineers who have volunteered, right, or they're not donating their time. We compensate them, but like they don't necessarily charge us the same rates they would charge someone else because they like mentoring students, right? These are software developers that make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and charge hundreds of dollars an hour, right? Sitting there ready to go to help answer questions. And so there's this whole network of people designed to help our interns thrive. So the internship is really, really unique in that our teams and our software is built by interns. And so the interns are doing real work. If the client needs Stripe integration, like credit card integration, the interns are going to do it. You would never see that happening at like a software development company that happened to have an intern. Right? Like, to be honest, big companies like Google, Netflix, and Meta, they won't even let their new hires, forget interns, they won't even let new hires touch production code for at least 6 to 12 months. They're going to sit there and train them first. Yeah, so what we're doing is like really unique in the industry, but it's the fastest way I know, and the only way I know, to give people who are learning real, actual hands-on experience. Awesome sauce. Great questions, folks. Brian had asked, is it self-paced or a guided virtual classroom? It is self-paced, but it's with a community. It's a hybrid. So I'll get into that in a little bit, Brian. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Awesome sauce. So the guaranteed internship is a game changer. And one of the other things that's really unique about it is that we actually customize the internship for each student based on your specific career goals. And we do that with a one-on-one custom career mapping. So we get to do that reverse engineering step where we say, okay, what's your dream job look like? Great. Let's build that into the internship. And then we assign you tickets, right, and activities on that path. It's really cool. It's really cool. And so you get the guaranteed internship. It helps you create that rock star resume, and then you get that dream job offer. All right, folks, super awesome. And this has had such a huge impact. We have so many students that have used this and turned it into job offers, right? So Adi, for instance, was a student of ours who had a degree in tech, but wasn't getting any coding interviews. This is unfortunately very common. After joining our academy and being on the internship, he got a 70K job offer for a 100% remote dev job. Being an entry-level coder and getting a 100% remote dev job is actually quite challenging because you're usually competing against the whole world. But in this case, we had actually had special access. This was a job offer that we knew about as an academy, and they only interviewed academy students. So we passed them 4 resumes that we thought would be viable. They interviewed all 4 and hired 1. So like, instead of being in this huge pile of resumes, like imagine being in a stack of 4, right? Way better odds, way better odds. So, Brian had asked the question, what does the learning look like? So in the Tech Joy Career Academy, we have the coursework and the training phase, right? Which is self-paced, right? Where I give you a little bit of a video, 5 to 10 minutes, learn a little, do a lot, do a lot, do a lot, do a lot. So lots of activities to go with it. I also walk through the activities to show you how I would solve it and my approach to solving it. Many students say that even when they've solved the problem, like hearing how I walked through it and like the process I follow is like super, super insightful for them, and it helps them, really move forward. So you're really learning to think like a coder here, right? The cool thing about this, way of learning is that the learning is available 24/7. And so you get to learn at your own pace when and where is convenient for you, because we're assuming that you have a life and you might have a job and you might have a family, and that the times that you can carve out might not be the same as everybody else. And so what we've done is we've taken the training portion and we've moved it into a course website. However, we pair that with community because we know how important community is for your success, right? And so we also have the community, and the community support is 24/7. It is all the time. You build connections and networking for your jobs. There's peer learning groups, and we celebrate wins. And so this is the 24/7 community. We even have voice channels where you can like screen share, right? It has Zoom-like functionality where students will just hop on. Like someone will be trying to answer something on Discord, and they'll be like, oh, wait, let's just hop into this room and see if we can like figure this out together. It's amazing. Most responses are in 4 hours or less. So it's like super fast turnaround time. We actually have a help ticket system to make sure that every question that gets asked actually gets answered. And we like circle back and make sure that it's getting answered appropriately. It's pretty awesome. In addition to our community, we also have live support on Zoom, 7 days a week, help all week long, even on nights and weekends, right? And these are all US-based senior developers and peer mentors, right? So everybody in the academy is, supporting you live on Zoom, so you can screen share and ask questions. And even if you don't have a question to ask, you can go to a session and just listen to the questions that other people ask and learn that way. So Brian, it's a little bit of a hybrid between live and work at your own pace, right? We have sessions for each phase in the program, like whether you're, in the training phase or you're in the internship. The support goes across all time zones. The times range from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. So I get asked this a lot, right? I get asked this a lot. Like, what sets the Tech Joy Career Academy apart, right? Because, like, literally, I've had people from like other boot camp owners calling me, trying to figure out, like, what are we doing differently? Like, what's our secret sauce that's so impactful, right? Because our students are having so much success. They got more offers last year in a supposedly tough market than ever before, because we've actually figured out how to help you get a 6-figure coding job, right? Whatever means necessary that works for you, right? Because you're learning how to think like a coder and get that hands-on experience. And so let me just take a moment and share with you the power of that custom internship, because this was responsible for our highest student salary ever, right, for a grad. So Nick had some experience. He'd been on the job market for a while. He'd been laid off for months. And to be honest, he really wanted to be a coder, but he had some prior management experience on his resume and he was getting flagged as overqualified. He like had too much experience. Like he really wanted to just be a developer. And they were like, "Are you sure you want this role? You have too much experience." Right? So he was overqualified for the software engineering tier jobs that he was looking for. After joining our customized internship, I worked with Nick on this. His dream was to get an AI software development job, right? So he worked on an AI-based project for us. And in November, I'm super excited to share, he started his dream job as an AI software engineer, earning $170K. That's our top ever, right? I want to let it be known that he did have prior experience, right? The students that we have that are graduating and getting over six figures typically had some other kind of experience in tech, but it can be a total game changer and it only needs to take a couple months, even if you're laid off, right? Like if you have a job, if you're laid off, it can be really incredible and really fast, right? So pretty sweet, pretty awesome. And that's the power of this custom internship, right? Because we were able to customize a training for exactly the type of jobs that he wanted to get. And he got one, right? Pretty awesome. He also wrote a bot to apply for jobs for himself, which is pretty cool too. So this custom tech job offer mapping, right? This is a custom plan that we designed one-on-one together to reverse engineer the perfect learning experience and job hunt strategy for your dream tech job, right? And it's designed around your personal interests and goals, which means that our program is super collaborative because our students aren't competing with one another because they all have different goals and they all have different learning paths that complement each other, right? This is a challenge in other more traditional training programs. Every student comes out knowing the same thing. They've had the same curriculums. They're all competing for jobs together. That's not the way it works here, right? Our work experience is on an actual software development team, and everyone is on the same team supporting one another because we're all going for different types of jobs. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. And if you guys have any other questions, I saw someone, Isaac raise his hand. Please, if you can go to the Q&A button on the bottom of your screen and pop it in there, I'll make sure to answer it before the end. I'm just keeping an eye on the time, and I want to try and make sure to wrap this up as quickly as possible for anyone that has to go, and I can stay as late as needed to answer any questions. Pardon me. So we help people become software developers faster, and there's a method to this. There's a method to this. Part of the secret to our success is that our students are learning from expert senior software engineers, right? Why is this important? Well, the fastest way to learn something is from someone who already learned it, right? Books are good, video tutorials are okay, but what if you can have a conversation with someone, right? Imagine getting stuck on a problem, bringing it to someone who used to work at Facebook and having them share with you like how they would solve it. And they have like over a decade of experience. In a few minutes, you are absorbing years. You are advancing years in your experience by leveraging theirs. So this is really a secret to our success, is that our students are learning from these expert senior software engineers, right? Because it is the fastest way to learn. And these are people making big bucks, right? 150K to 500K, like these are amazing software engineers, right? Amazing software engineers. And then our students are learning to deploy in production by doing, which is just so important. Like no company will hire in tech right now without that hands-on experience. And it's a really good way to learn, right? To have those skills. And it makes it easy for our students to show up confidently on the interview because they already know, right? Like what they're doing. So it's much easier to be confident that you can do the job and be confident on the interview as well. Yep. So Jay asked the question on the internship. When you have this experience, the way you put it on the resume is for TechJoy Software, our software company. Yep, great question. And our support is all US based when you need it, right? I've heard, that can sometimes be a complaint, that there can sometimes be language barriers to learning. But that's not an issue for us, right? That's not an issue for us. I'd love to share with you, one or two more stories of students that we've had. I think I have two more. So here's one. Is a student named Danielle. She went to a boot camp, couldn't get any interviews, right? So she learned the fundamentals of web development, but she just wasn't having any success because she didn't have that experience. She joined our academy internship and she received an offer making 20K more than she did as a teacher, right? And that was actually a training role, so it wasn't full pay. But I'm happy to report that just, I think, in the past month, she was hired on full time for full pay. So pretty awesome. So they paid to train her and they hired her full time, right? And even being not like a full employee yet, she was getting paid to learn, and she was making more than she did as a teacher, right? Like, just super awesome. What a great result. And she was just so frustrated being a teacher. And so, like, she found this amazing pathway out. And so the Joy of Coding internship, that's what it was called, JOC, right? We're now Tech Joy. She just had an amazing experience, and that internship is what opened the door for her. So just to review, the Tech Joy Career Academy, it has 2 phases, training and internship. So you learn and then you get the experience. You learn at your own pace. It's available 24/7. The support we have is US based and includes nights and weekends, right? So you're going to be able to find a time that's convenient for you, that fits into your life. And we also have our community support 24/7. So just to, put these things all together, would you guys like to know how you can join us tonight? Was anyone interested in hearing that? Let me see, because I'm super excited to share it. Awesome. David wants to hear it. So good. So good. Because I'm rolling out something brand new today. Some of you might have seen it, right? Because I've been sending emails about it to a select few. We're only opening this up to a select few founding members, but I'm super excited that we're stepping into this space. Awesome sauce, folks. So who is this for? If you have a tech job already and you're switching fields, this is for you. If you've done a boot camp or have a tech degree already, this is also for you. If you know you need experience to get a dev job or a coding job, this is also for you. If you're a beginner, because I have a number of people here that have never coded before, this can also be for you, but it may cost you more. And I'll show you why in a minute. We are introducing the Tech Joy Career Academy as an education as a service. What the heck does that mean? Right? Most boot camps out there cost tens of thousands of dollars. I think the top one is like 40K, right? And most good ones are between 10 to 20K, right? So we are offering best in class training and experience, which nobody offers. And we're offering it for $97 a week, and you can cancel at any time. So if you're one of the half of our grads that get an offer in the first 3 months as part of the training phase, then you're only paying for that training, right? Or if you want to stick around and be an intern and get that 6-figure software developer job, you can. It's just going to cost, like, it may cost more. If you have experience, you can go through faster. You won't pay as much, right? If you're new, right, it may be more expensive because it takes more time. But we're super, super excited for this because you can cancel at any time, right? Absolutely any time. If you do cancel, you can't join for a year, but like, we're not tying you in. This is training and education. It's not a hostage situation. We're not locking you in. So you can come in, try things out, and try to get a job quickly, right? I know someone had asked about freelancing. We have Freelance Fridays where we actually have an experienced freelancer helping students get set up to do their own freelancing so they can earn while they learn, right? So it's an amazing community. And so we are supporting you, and we have very, tried and true pathway to get these 6-figure tech jobs, but you get to choose how to walk it and how quickly, right? Like, we're really supporting you. We offer the training, we have the support, but we're really offering support and experience, but now it's as a service, right? So if you have non-coding tech experience, you should be able to add at a minimum of 15K to your salary. Typically it's more like 50K, but we want to be conservative here. You can add a minimum of 15K to your salary in as little as a month, right? Like, if you already have tech experience, adding coding skills and thinking like a coder on top of it usually increases someone's salary by anywhere from 15 to 50K, right? If you're a true beginner, you should expect this experience to take at least 6 to 12 months, right? We assume part-time. So the assumption is that you're working 2 hours a day, about 10 to 15 hours a week, right? 10 to 15 hours a week. And so, we've never offered this before, right? So I'm super excited to offer it. We're going to kick off the cohort this Tuesday, February 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern, right? So we're going to have a live session for anybody that's joining the Tech Joy Career Academy under this program. And so we're going to kick things off next Tuesday. So if you want to be part of this, right, this founding member cohort, then please join us. You'd want to make sure to do it by Monday, right? So that I can get you the Zoom links to join us for Tuesday. Yep. Yes. So Antonio is asking, so it's 5K for 12 months. So it's not actually, there's a discount, Antonio. If you know you want to do it for 12 months, we actually offer discounts for quarterly and annual. And for anyone that's, heard of our other offerings, which, we used to be called the Joy of Coding Academy. We've merged Training Camp and the Joy of Coding Academy under one umbrella. We think it's going to be a lot simpler for everybody. So you can go as far as you want. You don't have to pick until you get there. We still have our legacy offering. So if you wanted like the money back guarantee for the job offer and things like that, we do still have that. It gives you 2 years of access, right? And so it's you can pay that lump sum, or you can finance it through Klarna or Afterpay, but you'll get 2 full years, 24 months of support. Yep. And so you can absolutely use the 12-month. The 12-month has a discount. It's $3,997. So you save, I think, a few $100s. I'd have to go and look. I just updated those discounts today for you guys, so I don't have it memorized yet. But it's on this website. If you go to joc.mobi/academy, let me see if I can paste this for you. You can buy for the whole year. And if you're a beginner, I do recommend it, right? If you're a beginner, I absolutely recommend allowing yourself the space for a year, because it will probably take 6 months to do the training and the internship. And then you want to allow time for that support on the job hunt as well. And you can continue to be an intern and get that training and keep deepening your skills and learning. Yes, David, you can still use Afterpay, but you would have to use Afterpay only for the 2-year investment, right? So because we've shifted to subscriptions, education as a service, right? So the $97 a week, I think it's $1,000 a quarter and $4,000 a year. Those are all subscriptions now, so you can't use Afterpay and Klarna. But that's why I've left the 24-month payment investment with the job offer guarantee, which is if you don't get an offer within 6 months of completing the program, we give you your money back, right? So we're still leaving that in there, like that legacy offer, because it's just so good. And we have students that are currently under that. And so that can be done with Klarna. And so that's typically about $330 a month. So it's much more, it's similar, but it's a little bit less, right? And so you can absolutely use that. Yep. And you can use Afterpay and you can use Klarna. If Afterpay and Klarna don't work, right, the 97 a week can totally work. So I'm sorry, I don't see your name in the chat. But let me know if you want to use Afterpay for the year. I can see if I can make a separate one. Okay, I can see if I can make a separate one. Anyways, this is the first time we're offering it, so I'm super, super excited. And I think it's just going to work better for everybody, because sometimes we have students come in, they get a job offer in the first 2 months. Sometimes it takes longer, right? And so it's really about paying for the services that you're using instead of requiring like this bar of like tens of thousands of dollars to give you this really high quality education. So awesome sauce, folks. Yep. Awesome. Thank you, Tom. And you guys can text me, right? Like we texted you this Zoom link. If you have any specific payment questions, or if you'd like to use Afterpay for the annual, I can see if I can actually fix it up to do that. I can't do it now, obviously, because we're live, but later tonight I can do that once we're off. And I can let you know. So just let me know if that's something you're looking for, and I can look to make that happen for you. Yeah, great questions, folks. I think that's a really smart plan. I think that's a smart plan. So we'll definitely can look into that. Awesome. Awesome sauce. I have one. All right, let's see. I have a couple questions here I want to quickly answer. And then I just have like one more thing to share with you guys, because I want to make sure that I get you that the resume PDF, like to help you write your resume. Anyways, Antonio, the age of my oldest student, the oldest admitted age was 79. I don't know if they were older. That's as old as they would say. So, but we have a wide variety of ages, anywhere from 20s all the way up, all the way up. I would say the average age is probably mid, like 30s and 40s is our average, but we have them younger and older as well. Jay is asking, would I consider a pay after hire option? So we used to actually charge what I'm charging for 2 years. We used to actually have a pay after hired where that would be the upfront cost and you pay the second half later. So I'm going to be I'm releasing that for any of the students that signed up under that this fall. Um, but we have experimented with pay after hire. The challenge with pay after hire is that we support each individual student. And to do that, it does require some upfront investment from us, right? So in the future, could there be a pay after hire? I'd probably be more likely to do a zero support offering. And then if you're good enough on your own merits to qualify for the internship, you might be able to get the experience that way. But I mean, it's probably gonna be a few months, before we can do that. And I can't guarantee that we'll do that, right? That's just something I've been thinking. But that's like, if you can hack it on your own, right? Like that'll be another entry point to it. But this way, we're actually supporting you, right? Pay after you're hired. I can't afford to actually support you with the level and quality of support. Like we actually track each student's progress, right? And we help work with them if things start dropping off, if it's taking longer. We let them know and be like, hey, do you want to workshop ways that you can move forward faster, right? Like we're partnering with you on your success. And if it's pay after hired, I can't do that anymore, right? Typically, a pay after you're hired agreement, they're actually just headhunting and recruiting. They're not serving the individual student. So I'm trying to actually serve the individual student's goals. And so because of that, like there is some outlay for us to support the individual student. Anyways, I have tested income share agreements. They don't work. And to be honest, there's a number of boot camps that have closed because of it. They don't actually work because you can't support the individual that way. So anyways, great question, Jay. Great question, Jay. So I don't anticipate us offering this level of support, right? To pay after hire, just because what I find is that students, once they're hired, don't want to share that they've been hired. And it becomes a bit of a challenge to make sure that we're collecting on that. And there's, some students decide they don't want to go on that pathway. And sometimes it becomes a disincentive for them to do so because they're like, oh, I don't want to get this job. Now I'm gonna have to pay all this money back, right? Like I've talked with students where that's actually an issue. So it doesn't help us serve you and it doesn't serve you either. So I try to find solutions that allow us to support you 100%. So that's why I really like this education as a service model. Yes, there's still a cost associated with it, but if you look at it, like you're going to be getting, if you don't have a coding job, you're going to be getting like a 70 to 100K tech job for like a few $1,000s investment in training. Like that's a pretty good deal. And for those with tech experience, you might be able to increase your salary by 15 to 50K in just a few months. Like that's potentially a few $1,000s for a 15 to 50K increase. It's like a no-brainer, right? So that's why we're really excited about this model so that you can come in and use it as quickly as works for you. Yeah, great question. Great questions, folks. Great questions. Super awesome. Let's see. Okay, I have some other Q&A questions. Let me just go through the final pieces and then I'll answer any of these other questions. Great questions, folks. Awesome sauce. So, the power of this payment plan, Doris was a single mom with no prior coding experience. She did have some experience in tech, right? So she was in that group. She used the payment plan. She landed a 150K job 7 months after joining. Like, I mean, think of the turnaround on that, right? That kind of return on investment. At the time, right, the academy was actually more expensive at the time. So she paid even more and she gladly did. She was like, that is awesome. I just like totally, made it worthwhile. She totally made it worthwhile. So I urge you, and I'll make sure, let me make sure I've got this link in the chat so you guys can see it. Awesome sauce. Awesome. If you want to look into it, please take a look at our payment options and we'd love to get you started. We'd love to get you started. Awesome sauce, folks. So I promised you help with the resume, right? So if you would like, I have a PDF that I hand to all my students, right, to help them prepare for the job hunt. We have, a lot more training around the job hunt and strategy about how to do it effectively, how to go on LinkedIn, how to build your resume, right? We have a lot of trainings, but this is like a summary of it. It's short and succinct. And it's my gift to you for coming tonight. All I ask is that you answer a couple quick questions on a survey. I'm going to post the link here, right? And then please, at the end of the survey, look on the thank you page. There's going to be a link to this PDF. All right. So it's just a couple quick questions about how you enjoyed the masterclass tonight. Yeah. So, and then this hopefully will help you move forward on, applying to tech jobs. All right. Super awesome. So cool. Awesome sauce. All right, cool. So I'm going to stop sharing. So I think I posted a link in the chat. Both links are in the chat. And I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to switch gears a little bit to answering questions. All right, I'm going to switch gears to answering questions in the Q&A. And so if anyone, I know like we've gone a little long. If anyone has questions, I will stay as long as needed to answer them. But I also, want to make sure that anyone that does have to go tonight, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey and helping you move forward and getting these tech jobs in 2025. All right. And again, you can text us. You should have received a text and an email notifying you of the event today. Just text me back. If you have any questions, happy to answer them. All right. There is a real human on the other end. It's not just AI. All right. I haven't done it yet. I think I will probably roll out some AI at some point, but right now it's all human. It's all human. Super awesome. Super awesome. Okay, cool. So let's see. All right. I'm looking at questions. Okay, Mary is asking, how do you narrow down what kind of job you want? Like web design versus program development. Great question, Mary. And so, in fact, this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited to move to education as a service model, because we're one of the few training programs I know of that allows you to fluidly switch tracks after you're in. Because we know that sometimes before you know anything, it's hard to know which way you want to go. Right. And so we want you to be able to come in and learn the basics and start talking to our senior software engineering mentors to help make that decision. That you don't have to just rely on like my opinion or your opinion or what you read on the internet. You actually have a conversation. Like, let's say you're thinking about going into software development, but you don't know what kind. Like maybe you want to go into cloud engineering or DevOps or full stack or data science. You can go drop in on those sessions and be a fly on the wall and listen or watch the replays, right? So like you have access to the entire vault of our recordings since our inception, like every single recording. We probably need to, organize those, but we have access to all of them. We have access to all of them. So, how do you know what kind of job you want? My recommendation is to try it, like to go talk to people who are doing that and see what they like about it. See, would you like to do it, right? And the introductory training is the same for everyone, no matter which direction they go, right? Because the basics are the basics. But then after that, you can start listening in on some of these, cool team meetings and more advanced sessions to help figure out and make that decision of like, is this fun for you, right? You can just be a fly on the wall. Super awesome. Great question. Great question, Mary. I love that. And what do we recommend as a class for a new coder? Well, for a new coder, I would recommend our program because you'll get more support than you would get in an online class. And I think the way we teach is the fastest way to learn these skills because what I've heard from students, right? And so I designed, after I had been teaching these basics, like how to become a programmer for about 6 years, I created a very short 5-hour mini course, right? So if you just want to dip your toe in the water, I can send you the link. And if you can text me, we have like a little 7 basics mini course. And it's just 5 hours. Some students finish it in just 2. And I've heard that in those 2 hours, students have learned more than in years of trying to learn on their own. So that would be my recommendation is like the 7 basics would be the place to start. I don't have the link ready to go, but we do have a link for it. I think it's like $7. It's like super low, super little, but it's super impactful. And in fact, I did also have a student who had spent 6 years getting a software engineering degree, and he learned more doing 2 months of the academy, right, than in 6 years going to school. So like the way that we teach it is the fastest way, right? If it works for you, if it resonates for you, everyone learns differently, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh, there's no other good ways of learning, but our way has been engineered to teach you the concepts as quickly as possible, because while I'm teaching you the basics of coding, I'm actually teaching advanced software engineering concepts. Because I don't know if you've ever heard of this, like what we do in the like what we do in the small, we do in the large, right? So like however you make your choices when you're writing a small program, those are the same choices you'll make when you're doing a big program. So I'm teaching you those principles right away, so you don't have to unlearn bad habits and relearn, right? So I really recommend at least trying our approach, because I think if it works for you, it's going to be faster than anything out there. Yep. Great question. Great question. So good. Awesome. I think there's still more in the chat. Let me pop this out. There we go, so I can see it. Awesome. Awesome. No worries, Tom. It's all good. Tom's got a question. All right, cool. Awesome. Antonio wants the mini course. I'll see if I can get it, guys. It's the 7 basics. I'll see if let me see if I can get that link for you guys. All right. Aaron switched computers and lost beer glasses question. All right, no worries, Aaron. I'll take a look. Oh, now you recall. Okay. Aaron's asking, let's see, here we go. Let's see. There we go. So Aaron's asking, I'm in a different class for data analytics and AI, but Python is part of it. I'm in the learning how to think like a coder section here at the Joy of Coding. Am I diluting my effort? Awesome sauce, Aaron. So I think it depends on where you're trying to go, right? Like you want to make sure that you can advance and get through the problem solving pieces. And I think it depends on how much time you have, right? Like the risk, the way I know that we're designed is that the foundations will support you in any project. It may be useful to use data analytics and AI. That course may be useful, but the question is, are you going to work on a project where those skills are required, right? Especially in data analytics and AI, these fields are so broad, right? Remember that big picture we showed of like all these different technologies? At any one moment, to make a project be successful, you only need a small fraction of that. So it could be that you're spending time learning things that you don't actually need yet, right? And so that's where I hesitate, because it could be that you need some of that knowledge, but not all of it. And this is why, to be honest, like college courses can actually, or even online courses, can sometimes be an inefficient use of your time, because once you learn the basics of thinking like a coder, you can just learn what you need when you need it. You don't need a whole course to do it, right? And so I would push you to master those skills so that you can just pick up the data science pieces that you need, right? Or you know who to go to ask, right? To help you get there. Anyways, so that would be my solution. Awesome. So everyone's looking for the mini course. Awesome sauce. Let me see if I can grab that link for you really quickly. I think I have it. Let's see. There we go. 7 basics. Here we go. This is what you want if you're a beginner. Here you go, folks. Let me know if it doesn't work. I haven't been sending people to this link for a long time. So just text me back, folks. Just text me back. I haven't tested it, right? Like just trying to serve you guys any way that I can. But yeah, it's a real game changer for giving you the basics in as short and succinct a way as possible. Awesome sauce, folks. Super good. I think I saw some other questions here. So the mini course is in the chat. Edward, love it. That's super good. Yeah, and actually, so for anyone that would like to know your financial standing, you can also, like, you can go to Klarna's website and check your buying power to see if you can do the $330 a month plan, right? Because I would just buy you 2 years, you'd have everything you need, right? And it has a little bit of savings each month. Well, to be honest, it's a $5,000 savings if you were to enroll for 2 years, but it's also a little bit of savings on each month because of that. So super, super awesome. Awesome. So Tom had said he's a software engineer, but has no USA degree, right? So I think the question I would have, Tom, is just, we help students get software engineering jobs in countries where they are authorized to work. So I guess that would be my only question, Tom, is are you authorized to work in the US? And if so, right, or at least do you have a country you're targeting where you're authorized to work? And then we can help give you that experience so that it works for you. Awesome sauce. Great question. Awesome, Ms. Platinum. Don't know how to code at all, but sure I can learn quick. Don't know where I should start as far as the class's pricing. Great question. So if you want, we've got the 7 basics mini course. You can start there. if you like our style of teaching, I would say join us, right? Here's the thing, folks, is that we've made the $97 a week super easy. So if you wanted, you could just come in for a week, see how you like it, and then you could decide if you want to do the quarterly or the annual, right? Like you don't have to decide right away. We've tried to make it so you can decide as you go and just make it really easy to get started, right? It's just $97. Come on in, do our orientation, get started on the modules, and then go from there. So again, you get to choose, like, yeah, we're just trying to help you make a decision, right, for your future of what's going to be right for you. And we've had enough students take the first month and get hired. In fact, my fastest student got a job offer in 2 weeks using coding. It was an IT job that used coding, right? So typically when you're applying for tech jobs that are not like 6-figure software developers, like you have to do the internship. There's no way around it. And so that's definitely going to take a couple months, right? No matter what, you should plan for that. But if you already have tech experience, you're interested in using like coding with IT or data science, right? Like, or data analytics, some of those jobs are faster. You don't need to learn as much coding to be effective. And so some of those are faster. And so we're not trying to force you down one path or another. We're trying to give you options. Yep. Great questions. Great questions. So Mary, what's the quickest a beginner has gotten through the training? So now there's 2 potential answers to this question. What's the quickest that someone has gotten a job offer as a beginner? And how quick has a beginner gotten through the training, right? I think the quickest a beginner has gotten through, well, do you mean the training phase or the internship? So let me try and give you some numbers. I'll do my best, right? The fastest I had a beginner get a job offer, I think, was within 3 months. They did not get to the internship though, right? They exited. They're like, okay, I've learned enough. I'm good. And they got a great job working for Oracle, right? Like I think it was a customer service solution specialist. So the fastest path through the whole program, typically the beginners are like our average to complete the whole program, including the internship, is around 8 months, but beginners definitely it's more around 12. I would have to go back and like look at all the students that have finished to see which ones were beginners and exactly where that was. But that's the sense that I have. They've finished if you count finishing as graduating, like completing the internship to the highest level, I did have a beginner do it in less than a year. It was November to probably May. That's like 6 months, right? But that individual was probably working closer to full-time on this. They eventually did get a part-time job just to make ends meet, but they were working almost full-time, and so they did it 6 months. And then the fastest job is 2 weeks. That's not typical, but I've had multiple students get job offers in 2 to 3 months, not on the internship, right? So there's 2 numbers, I think, Mary, to answer this question, is we have students getting job offers during phase 1, the training phase. And then in the internship phase, we have a moment where the interns finish, where they graduate to become junior devs. So then on your resume, it no longer says intern. It says junior dev because you've graduated, you've been promoted. And so we're basically acknowledging that you're ready, right? And that we're going to support you. We're going to serve as a recommender, right? Like all the things as a reference. And so that point has been completed. I think that point has been reached more quickly. I think the fastest to junior dev was probably 3 months, but it wasn't a beginner. The fastest beginner was probably that 6 months, but she was full-time. But then the job hunt can take anywhere from like a few weeks to 6 months. And so there's some wiggle room there. We usually encourage students to continue on the internship while they're on the job market. So they're building up their experience on their resume and they don't have a gap. And so they can continue pushing to production, right? And they can answer those interview questions appropriately. Great question. Awesome sauce. Some other questions. So Isaac went to a coding boot camp a few years ago, but couldn't put it all together. And now after working in IT services, you're ready to learn. Awesome, Isaac. I think this would be a perfect fit for you. If you're not content with the salary where you're at in just a little bit, we can help you increase your salary and also you can become an amazing software developer. So I think this would be a wonderful fit for you. Awesome. Great question. Jay, is there by any chance an option for live classrooms for this program? Yes. So there is a live aspect, Jay, but it's live on Zoom like we are tonight. So there's screen sharing, there's paired coding, right? Like all of those things happen. They're just happening in the Zoom Q&A sessions. So what typically happens, the student will bring a question to the Q&A session and screen share, and then our staff will help them walk through it. So one of the things that's really important about our support is that we know it's more important to teach you how to solve the problem for yourself than to give you the answer. This is why it can be hard to learn on your own because ChatGPT and Google are just going to spoon feed you the answer. Even when they tell you they're not and you ask them not to, they tell you the answer. I've seen it, right? And so our staff are actually all trained on how to ask questions and give you just enough information to move you forward so you can try to learn it for yourself, but then keep coming back for more. This is why our support is all dialogue based because we don't want to just tell you the answer. That'd be way faster, but it's going to be worthless for you, right? That's essentially like, here, learn how to ask the teacher questions and the teacher will do it for you. No, you need to know how to do it for you. And so all of our help and support is designed to be like Q&A based. So it could be remotely, asynchronously on Discord, or it can be live on Zoom. We also do live trainings regularly. So lately I've been doing some trainings on the job hunt because that's where students have had the most questions. I typically float. I have done live trainings on the 7 basics for like years. And so I recently just stepped away from that a little bit, but we can go into any questions you have during the orientation for sure. And we also do live trainings all the time, like all the time. So for instance, in this next week, we happen to have some extra ones next week, but like Wednesday night, I'm hosting a training with a web developer who's going to teach us a workshop on regression-proof software testing. As software development, it's his style of developing. He also is hiring, and so like it's a double win. On Thursday, we're going to be doing a workshop on like our working session on how to use AI to just spin up an MVP, a minimum viable product for a software project. And so like there's always live lessons happening. And the way the Q&As are designed is to mini lecture on the fly, right? And Coach Katrina is incredible at this, right? So she runs the Python sessions in the beginning. And so you bring in a question and like she's just gonna like explain it on the fly for you as well. So like there is a lot of live support in there. I don't want you to think it's all remote. Like well, it is remote, but it's not all asynchronous, like pre-recorded. There's a very important live element to the training. Awesome sauce. Um, awesome. Mary's asking, I had been taking HTML and Java about 25 years ago. Awesome, Mary. The cool thing is that if your learning of Java was enough to help you think like a coder, you will go through faster. So what I've seen is that students that have older coding experience, like over 10 years old, typically fly through our training because learning to think like a coder is like riding a bike, and it doesn't matter what language you use, right? The elements are the same. The 7 basics that I teach have been the same for 50 years. They haven't changed. They're still the same 7 basics. So if you learned to code 25 years ago, you should be able to move through at least the beginning phases fairly quickly, right? So that should save you some time. Excellent. Great questions. Great questions. Awesome sauce. I'm just going to take a moment, blow my nose. Hold on 1 second. I'll mute for a moment. I have some kids in daycare, right? They just bring everything home. Okay, awesome. Awesome, Antonio. So we're kicking off our cohort. So again, this is like brand new. We've never offered it, education as a service. Woohoo, super excited. We're kicking it off, right, for our founding members on Tuesday, February 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're having our new student orientation to help answer any questions you have, make sure you got everything rocking and rolling. So it begins, basically you can sign up anytime and we'll start live on Tuesday. Yep, super, super awesome. Awesome, no worries. Excellent. Yes. And so, David, you would be able to add the TechJoy training to your education. So what we've done in the past, so we've rebranded. We used to be the Joy of Coding, and then we became TechJoy. TechJoy was always the name of our software company, but it wasn't always the name of our training company. And we're starting to, unify these things under one umbrella. You have the choice of calling the training under Joy of Coding Academy if you wanted, because if you wanted to have the training and the software company be two separate entities on your resume, right? But yes, you would put both of those things on your resume. Yeah, great questions. Awesome. 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 Yes, yes, David, I will absolutely send you the information for Afterpay for a year. What I'm going to do, folks, because I know there was a couple people looking for Afterpay for the annual, I'm going to make that not a subscription, and then you should be able to do Klarna or Afterpay. I'll set that up tonight. So if you check tomorrow, it should be all good. Okay. Awesome. I'll just make that change. That's easy. That's super easy. We can make that happen for you folks. Super awesome. Very excited, right? Super excited. I think I answered all your questions. If not, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. I'll stay as late as possible. But let's say later on tonight, you think of a question. Oh, I forgot to ask her this. Just text us. Yes, I'm really in there checking the messages. I'll get to it within 24 hours typically. I'll get back to you. And so happy to answer any questions you might have. Our goal though, and our hope is that by offering this for a $97 entry point, that if you're thinking about it, you can just come in and see if it works for you. Because we've had students come in and just like, oh my God, it was the best thing ever since sliced bread. I've had students tell me, oh my God, I don't even care if I learn to code anymore. This community is so awesome, right? Like literally, like people have told me that. And I've also had people that it wasn't a good fit for, like, I'm not here to make that choice for you, right? Like I built what I think is the fastest way to get these skills and to get a six-figure job with a community to support you. But again, like it is up to you to walk it. And so I want you to be able to come in and try it for yourself and just see, right? Like, does this system work for you as it's worked for so many? But it doesn't necessarily work for everybody, right? Like everybody has different requirements. We've specifically tried, I know live can be awesome, right? We do have a lot of live elements because we know that dialogue is just so important to the learning process. But it's not necessarily a synchronous live because we want you to have the flexibility to work on this when and where you want. The internship is part-time, remote, virtual, requires 1 hour a week of a team meeting, and you can do the rest of the work whenever you want, right? So we've intentionally designed this program to be very flexible to work schedules, and just, trying to transform your career while you're juggling, work and life and family and all those good things. Awesome. Love it, Randy. Let's do it. Super, super awesome. I can't wait. I hope to see some of you this Tuesday. I'm super excited for this. You'll be part of the founding membership, right? Getting this off the ground and just testing this idea out and seeing how it resonates with people. Okay. Awesome sauce, folks. If there are any other questions, please don't hesitate to pop them in the chat. If there's not, it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you all tonight. I'm super excited to help support you, in your career moving forward and helping you rock and roll this 2025 and getting this tech job, getting these coding skills. All right, folks. Awesome. Awesome. If I don't see you on Tuesday, please don't be a stranger. Please feel free to join us in the Facebook group. You can ask questions there as well. I go live. I'm doing some like replay lives as well as some actual lives. So like this past week, I was actually live. And so you'll see it because I'll post in the group that it's happening. But every week we're like re-releasing a training that was popular and things like that, or we're doing actual live ones where I do new training periodically. So don't be a stranger. We're always putting new stuff out there, and we want to help you move forward and listen to everything that's happening in 2025. Awesome socks, Ralph. Let me get you the that Facebook group. Facebook group. It's facebook.com/joy.of.coding. Trying to see if I got the link. I don't know if I have the link. Somewhere. I have like a whole list of all the links in the business. I'm just let me see, because I don't have my web browser open. If I open my web browser, my Zoom will like not work anymore. Okay, let me see. Facebook.com/joy.of.coding. Let me see if this works. Okay, that should be the Facebook group link. All right, folks. We're also broadcasting our lives to YouTube as well, so you can find us. Don't worry. I'm sure we'll be seeing you soon. So yeah, don't be a stranger. Keep checking our emails. You can add our emails to your to your contacts. You see them. I drop like notices of new trainings and things like that. So for instance, um, we are doing a brand new training on Wednesday. I'll be sending out a message to everybody. And so it's free, it's open to the public, right? And so that'll be a super awesome training. It's happening next week. With a gentleman I met a couple weeks ago who's an amazing six-figure software developer. Super awesome. Awesome. I love it. Sounds good, Jay. Super awesome. Yeah. Any other questions about finances, just let me know. Happy to get you rocking and rolling. Just text us back. And yeah, we'll get you rocking and rolling onto that tech job for 2025, folks. All right. It was great seeing you today. I can't wait to support some of you whatever way makes sense. If it's inside the academy or if it's in our, free Facebook group, whatever it is, I'm happy to support you. All right, folks. Have a great rest of your night. We'll talk soon. All right, take care.